Now we're going to be looking at the loin. This loin is Bord Bia Quality Assurance. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the tail piece. We're going to use this for stock. So now I'm just going to flip it over and show you the difference between, as I call it, the rack of pork and the saddle of pork. How you know this is basically you follow the rack bones down, you can feel them with your finger and you come to the end of them, which is here. So I'm basically just going to cut straight down there. So this is the saddle. And what I want to do with this is just literally take off the chine bone. You're just following that bone right around. So again, we've got that chine bone. Then we've got the saddle here. There's a couple of things you can do. You can cut them up into chops. Very, very simple, just like this. Try and leave some of the fat on the meat. I think fat equals flavour. Okay, I think that's a lovely looking chop. I'm just going to put it down and just move on to this, which is our saddle. I want to score this and tie it neatly. So it's just very important just to cut right down. I'm not going too deep, I'm just using the tip of the Stanley blade. It's going to be a lot easier then just to tie it up like that. So again, I'm going to use the butcher's twine. I'm just going to start in the middle. The twine goes around, the loose end goes around and under, around and under, and just pull it. And then you have a lovely slip knot. I use the back of the knife just to tie it. Start in the middle and then work your way out, because if you start at the end, it balloons the meat. I'm just going to continue this on for the rest of the cut. So I think we have a beautiful roasting joint of meat there. And when that's roasted, the crackling and everything is just fantastic. Okay, so we're left with the rack. And simply, I'm just going to chine the rack. This is the chine bone here, so I'm just going to take it off. But to do that, I just want to cut down here like this and free it up at the back. So now the chine bone should just freely come off. And we've got more lovely bones for stock. So now we're left with this, and what I'd like to do with this is basically make it into a rack of pork. First thing to do is just have a look at where the bones are, so a little nick on either side to where you want to go on both ends. Just there. So I'm just going to cut this, and I'm following the bone itself right down onto the board. So I've just exposed all the rib bones here. This piece of meat is perfect for roasting. It's perfect for if you want to trim up and take all the meat off and use it for sausages. You could confit that in duck fat very slowly, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of meat. Now what I want to show you is how to expose these bones very carefully. So with the knife, you kind of scrape the bone and you expose it. What I'm doing is taking away the meat from the middle, and you keep doing this, you go right down to the end. Another lovely thing to do is just do a rack chop, and I'm just going to take it off here. When you do this, again, take off the rind. That's a lovely rack chop. The beauty of this is you just wrap that in tin foil and just pan fry it on either side, and it just looks lovely on a plate. What I've kind of discovered years ago was how to make the most out of this. I would normally take off the rack completely and to expose the loin. And the reason I do this is because there's so many pieces that we have. And again, these are spare ribs, or they're just cured and boiled and eaten, and they're fantastic. So again, we're just going to leave those there. So we have the loin. Now I want to split it right down the middle to make two loins out of one. But just before I do that, I want to take off the rind, because again, if I roast it or if I cook it with that on, it's just going to be very tough. And I'm angling the knife kind of towards me a little bit, and I'm kind of shaving the rind off. The reason I'm doing this is I'm leaving some of that beautiful fat. You can see it there. It's lovely and moist. That'll give the meat more flavour. That just comes off like that. So now we're left with the loin. So I'm just going to cut right down the middle. And again, I'm looking before I cut, just simple as that. So what I want to do is tighten them up a little bit so they form a cylindrical shape. So I'll just bring one over and I'll show you how to do it. So the cling film, just put it on the bench, on a flat bench. We're just going to roll this. So I'm kind of going to tuck it in under itself. And you can see there that tightness that I'm getting. Just to start to roll it, I just want to push the meat in towards itself and then catch it and just roll like that. And then tuck that underneath and tie it at this end. And tie it at the other end. Just make sure that it's nice and tight. So we've got a lovely cylindrical shape. After at least 24 hours in the fridge, I just cut it about an inch, slightly over an inch. I pan fry it with the cling film on, and when it's cooked, I whip off the cling film and the shape, it holds its shape. So from that loin, we got the saddle, the roasting piece. I've got the rack chop. I've got the loin chop. I've got some lovely bones for stock. We've got the spare ribs. We've got the skin for crackling. We've got the rolled loin as well. The full loin again, if we were to cure this, we could get rashers, back rashers off it. And then, of course, we've got the bacon loin itself. When you're using pork and bacon, make sure you get it off a Bord Bia Quality Assurance supplier.